Toni Morrison, one of the most celebrated American novelists, was known for her profound exploration of African American life and history. Born Chloe Ardelia Wofford in 1931, she used her writing to center Black voices, experiences, and culture, breaking new ground in American literature. Throughout her career, Morrison addressed themes of identity, trauma, community, and the lasting effects of slavery in the U.S. Her distinct narrative style, blending realism with the supernatural, won her numerous accolades, including the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1993, making her the first African American woman to achieve this honor. Morrison's works, particularly Beloved, remain vital contributions to both American literature and the ongoing dialogue about race, memory, and historical trauma.
Summary of Beloved.
Published in 1987, Beloved is Toni Morrison's most acclaimed novel, a haunting exploration of the legacy of slavery and the emotional scars it leaves on individuals, families, and communities. Set in the aftermath of the American Civil War, the novel blends elements of historical fiction, psychological realism, and magical realism to tell a story of pain, survival, and the desperate search for identity and belonging. At the center of the novel is Sethe, a formerly enslaved woman living in Cincinnati, Ohio, whose tragic past continues to haunt her, both figuratively and literally. The novel begins in 1873, with Sethe living in a house referred to as 124, with her daughter Denver and her mother-in-law baby Suggs. The house is haunted by the spirit of Sethe's dead daughter, who died under tragic circumstances years earlier. Sethe's past is slowly revealed through a series of flashbacks. She had escaped slavery at a Kentucky plantation called Sweet Home, where she endured immense suffering and trauma, including sexual violence and the dehumanization of her body in labor. When her former enslaver, known as schoolteacher, comes to reclaim her and her children, Sethe is driven to an unspeakable act. She kills her infant daughter to spare her from the horrors of slavery. The child, who is unnamed in life but later referred to as Beloved, becomes a central figure of the novel, both as a literal ghost and as a symbol of the past's inescapable grip on Sethe's life. The novel takes a magical realist turn when Beloved returns in physical form. She appears at Sethe's doorstep as a young woman, with no memory of her past, but an eerie familiarity with the house and its inhabitants. Sethe quickly becomes convinced that this young woman is the embodiment of her dead daughter, returned to reclaim the love and life that were taken from her. This manifestation of Beloved serves as a reminder that the traumas of slavery and the choices Sethe made in response are not easily forgotten. Beloved's arrival disrupts the already fragile dynamic in the household. She exerts a powerful hold over Sethe, feeding on her guilt and emotional vulnerability. As Sethe becomes more and more consumed by her desire to atone for her past, her relationship with her other living daughter, Denver, suffers. Denver, once dependent on Sethe, is forced to seek help from the outside world, a significant step in her own development and eventual independence. Another important character in Beloved is Paul D., one of the men from Sweet Home, who arrives at Sethe's house after many years of wandering. Paul D. represents another facet of the post-slavery experience, one marked by the struggle for selfhood and masculinity in a world that had denied Black men their humanity. His reunion with Sethe offers the possibility of healing, as both characters have shared experiences of enslavement, loss, and survival. However, the reappearance of Beloved complicates his relationship with Sethe and forces him to confront his own buried traumas. Paul D.'s journey in the novel is as much about reconciling with his own past as it is about learning to love and build a future. His experiences at Sweet Home left him emotionally scarred, and his return to Sethe brings up questions about what it means to be free, both physically and emotionally. At its core, Beloved is a novel about memory, how it shapes individuals and communities, and how it can both heal and destroy. Morrison explores the psychological effects of slavery, particularly the way it severs people from their families, histories, and sense of self. Sethe's desperate act of killing her own child can be understood as the ultimate consequence of a system that devalues black life so profoundly that a mother would rather see her child dead than enslaved. The novel also delves deeply into the idea of community and the importance of collective healing. Baby Suggs' role as a spiritual leader in the black community around 124 demonstrates the power of communal gatherings and shared rituals in the face of overwhelming oppression. Yet Sethe's isolation from this community, driven by her shame and guilt, underscores the damage that trauma can do, not only to individuals, but also to the bonds between people. Beloved is a profound meditation on the cost of slavery, not just in terms of physical labor, but in its lasting psychological and spiritual effects. Toni Morrison weaves a narrative that is both deeply personal and universally resonant, showing how the past can continue to haunt the present. The character of Beloved represents both the literal ghost of a murdered child and the broader legacy of slavery that refuses to be forgotten. Through the lens of Sethe's story, Morrison challenges readers to confront the historical atrocities that shaped America, and to understand how trauma, memory, and identity are inextricably linked. In Beloved, Morrison does more than recount a tragic history. She breathes life into it, forcing readers to witness the emotional aftermath of slavery's brutal legacy. Hay novel's ending, which leaves the fate of its characters somewhat unresolved, reinforces the idea that the past is never truly over, and healing is a continuous, collective process.